next generation.
Welcome. We just had our house painted for the 10th time. I feel like I've mentioned that.
Somebody's excited.
But because we did, we had to move everything off of our house, including our outdoor cat enclosure, which we have a video on we made a few years ago, and you guys seem to have loved it. So here we are remaking it.
Bigger and better.
We decided to move it from its original location, so we can't use the one that we already made because it doesn't fit in the new spot, so we're just gonna remake the whole thing. And we also have a few ideas on upgrading it from our last video. So let's get right into what you need to make this. We'll be using treated 2x4s. Before we used untreated wood because we had it under an overhang, and it held up perfectly.
It really did. It lasted a long time.
And we live in like 100% humidity, so I'm surprised it held up as well as it did. So if you're gonna have yours under an overhang, you should be good with untreated wood. We didn't stain or seal it before, so I was surprised.
That's really impressive.
But for this one, it is gonna be more exposed, so we're gonna use treated 2x4s.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna get wet.
And we got 11 2x4s, but when we mapped this all out, I think we're only gonna need 10, but we always like to have a little extra room in case we mess up.
We'll be using exterior 2.5-inch screws, and we also need a drill, obviously, to screw the screws in. We will be adding a roof.
We're just using a little piece of treated wood that we had left over and some shingles. And then we'll be using chicken wire, I believe it's called.
I think so.
For the outside. You can use any type of mesh you would like for this. We just have this left over from the other cat enclosure, so we're reusing it.
You could probably even use like a clear corrugated plastic or something like that. It may turn into a sauna.
Yeah, I think they would pass out in that. We're also gonna stain ours, so you can use whatever type of stain or seal you would like.
All right, so first up, we're gonna measure so we know what size we want our cat house, and we know what we can fit into our little space where we'll be building it.
We'll be making our enclosure, instead of a complete box that's closed in, we're gonna make it a 3-sided box, basically.
So like a C.
The house is gonna make up the 4th side of the box. Our enclosure will be 87 inches high, 36 inches deep, and 66 inches wide. So now we're ready to cut all of our 2x4s. This is gonna be pretty easy because there's only 2 measurements, which never happens.
Wow, that's as easy as it gets. We can't mess this one up, can we?
Nope, maybe. Already messing up here. We need 3 measurements.
Oh God, really?
The roof isn't going from here to there.
It's only gonna go in this area.
Secured to here.
If you're doing a full roof though, you should go at a little bit of a
You
slant.
should cut the front boards a little bit less than the back ones.
So for our vertical boards, we're gonna need 4 of these total, and these are just gonna be whatever height that you want for your house. So in our case, it's gonna be 87 inches. So we're gonna go ahead and cut 4 boards.
So now that we have our vertical boards, we're gonna go ahead and cut our horizontal boards. For this, we will need 9 boards total. 2 different measurements though. We will need 6 36-inch cuts, and we will need 3 66-inch cuts. And that'll make up all of our horizontal boards. Actually, that'll make up all of our boards.
We always like to double check our measurements as we go, so it's custom fit exactly, and we don't have to double cut, because we always end up being wrong the first time. So here we go. Instead of 66, we're doing 62, because we have to account for the thickness of these boards and this area. So we already messed up because we want to have a shelf in the middle, and we need a support board for that. So we need 1 additional board.
So we've already used our spare board. We haven't even started. So I really want to add a bunch of different cool things for them to use inside this new space. But I want to build the structure first so I can kind of see the layout, and then add ramps and all kind of cool things, maybe in a scratch pad. So now that we have all of our cuts, before we assemble, we're gonna go ahead and stain with the minwax honey.
Yep.
We like to use a cheesecloth. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wouldn't assemble.
We need the sand.
Oh my.
So we're first gonna sand everything, and then once they're smooth, we can go ahead and add our stain. You like my makeshift glove? Because we're out of gloves.
All right, we've got dry, stained boards. We're ready to assemble. We're gonna start from front to back. So the first thing that we're gonna do is do what?
Screw it.
We're gonna build our front structural space. So yeah, we're gonna screw it together. We're gonna take one vertical 87-inch board and we're gonna screw
the 66-inch.
The 66-inch to it. So now we're gonna take and add our other vertical 87-inch board, and this will complete the front of our structure.
So now we're gonna make our left and right side. All we're gonna do is repeat the process just with our 36-inch boards. The one that you have in the middle should all line up so that your shelf will sit lined. So I recommend leveling everything as you screw it together just to be sure it's all straight. This is Richard's DIY pocket holes. He's become a pro at them. The trick is to go really slow or you're gonna drill into your finger. We recommend using a pocket hole kit for this. I'll link one below if you wanna make these types of hole with your screw. So we're gonna have our shelf along this middle area, but we also wanna have a perch, I guess you could call it, or a little shelf on this top right section so that they can go from the highest to the middle. And then we also wanna have one along this area. So we got this exterior wood because it comes already painted, so this is going to be safer for the cats because I don't want to have to stain or paint it, whereas they're not laying on this stained structure, so this is fine. And then we also had them cut it long ways at Lowe's just to save us some extra time, and we are going to wait at least a week until we let the cats in the enclosure just so that the stain has time to penetrate. It doesn't have any types of smell. So now you're left over with one 66-inch board and you're wondering, how am I left with one board? Well, now we're gonna attach that for our shelf. So let's do that.
This will be the extra support beam for the back side of the shelf.
Because if you have a fat cat like us and he goes on that shelf, he's gonna fall right down. So we need some type of support in there to hold up our cats. For the shelf on the inside, you can use any type of wood that you would like. All we're gonna do is screw this down directly into the enclosure as well as the support beam that we added right to the middle.
Oh my gosh, that looks like a clubhouse for a kid. Kidding me? It's for a cat?
All right, so now we've got all these fun features for the cat. The inside is done. We can go ahead and seal it up with our chicken wire. So this is gonna be our last step.
We ended up not having enough garden wire, it's actually called garden fence. And we realized they have a vinyl coated one, so it's a lot smoother for the cats, and it already comes in green. It's just a little more expensive. It's gonna save me time, and it's gonna look better long term. Change of plans, last minute.
Alright, so now we're going to add a roof so our cats can hopefully go outside when the rain isn't blowing sideways, because we tend to get that a lot around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that scrap board Jen talked about. We had it laying around. It fits close enough to perfect. We're going to make up that extra little gap that you see with our roofing shingles, so no worry for the leaks. We should be fine. And if it does drip a little bit, maybe that'll just give them a little water feed, or they can stick their tongue out and catch it.
Like a hamster.
Yeah.
So a lot of you wondered with our last cat enclosure, is this attached to your house? And no, it was not attached to the house. We have had hurricanes, tropical storms, everything you can imagine, and it did not move at all. If you are worried about it moving or blowing away, then you can always add a little hook into the wall and add a rope around the back beams, I guess you would call it. Add a rope around it and tie that to your house. One huge change that we made to the last enclosure that was a lifesaver, I recommend it to everybody, is to use a cat door on your window. So they sell these on Amazon. I'll link them down below if you're interested, but it's basically like a doggy door, but it's connected to your window and there's a flap so your AC doesn't get wasted. That was our main issue. There wasn't an issue with bugs at all because we have cats. So obviously we never would see the bugs if they got inside.
How do you guys like this? I think it is a major upgrade from the previous cat house. They went from the apartment to the penthouse suite, so they're living it up.
Now they're closer to the veggie garden so they can get even more action with the bugs and lizards.
That's what they really like when they go out there. They just like to hunt and they get stimulated. They come in, they eat, sleep, and repeat.
We've noticed a difference with them not being able to go outside. They are so much more hyper in the house and fight all day long. Whereas when they're able to go outside, they're so much more chill. So highly recommend this for your cat. Even if you live in an apartment or something, this is not permanent. You just put it up to the window and you can make it any size so it can fit any house.
I was just thinking if it was a second story to make sure it's secured to the window.
Oh God, please. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye guys.